If I had known that morning would end with handcuffs digging into my wrists in front of hundreds of travelers, I might have done things differently. But the truth is, sometimes, standing still and dignified is the most powerful protest one can offer. I wasn't loud. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even frown. I simply existed, and that was enough to shatter the fragile ego of a woman who couldn't believe someone like me belonged in her world. Friday afternoons at Eastbridge International Airport were always bustling with controlled chaos. The terminals echoed with boarding calls in multiple languages, the wheels of suitcases rumbling across the polished floors, and the scent of roasted coffee battling the sterile chill of air conditioning. At Gate C-14, a crowd gathered for the last boarding call of skybound Flight 334 to Chicago. In that crowd stood a woman named Carmen Ellis. Carmen, a composed black woman in her late 40s, was returning home after delivering the keynote at the National Legal Accountability Summit. She was dressed in tailored navy slacks, a cream blouse tucked into a soft gray vest, and a slim pair of matte black heels, more practical than fashionable, but dignified. On her wrist, a subtle but elegant watch peeked out, and her bag, a structured, high-end leather satchel, rested neatly atop her roller suitcase. Though Carmen held one of the most respected positions in the federal judiciary, she had traveled without an entourage, as she always did. No aides, no press, no fuss, just a woman on her way home. While waiting to board, she quietly reviewed her notes on an upcoming ruling, scrolling through her tablet with the careful focus of someone used to carrying the weight of decisions that shaped lives. A few places down the line stood Margaret Delaney, a white woman in her 60s wrapped head to toe in high-end designer brands, her wrists glinting with diamonds. Her face, expertly painted and constantly pursed in irritation, surveyed the boarding crowd with disdain. Her sharp eyes fixated on Carmen, her scowl deepening. Delaney muttered to the man beside her, her voice loud enough for others to catch. "Look at that. Everyone flies business now, I suppose." Standards must have fallen. It was more than a comment. It was a fuse. Within moments, Delaney strutted up to the gate agent, waving her platinum boarding pass like a badge of entitlement. "Excuse me," she said sharply. "Why'd I have to stand with them?" She nodded toward Carmen. "That woman has been eyeing my luggage. I don't feel safe. She doesn't belong in this line. Are you checking these tickets or not?" The young gate agent hesitated, caught off guard by the aggression. "Ma'am, all passengers here are business class and have cleared security. That includes the woman you're referring to." Delaney wasn't satisfied. Her voice raised a notch. "She's suspicious. Probably used someone else's ticket. Do your job. Call someone. This is unacceptable." Just then, two airport security officers approached, drawn by the noise. Officer Mark Rudd, a middle-aged man with a practiced scowl and a sense of authority that often went unchecked, sized up the situation. His partner, Officer Peter Lang, younger and more aggressive, crossed his arms and locked eyes with Carmen from a distance. Delaney turned to them as if divine help had arrived. "Officers," she said, voice trembling with feigned distress. "That woman right there," she pointed dramatically, "she's been staring at me and my bag. I don't feel safe. You need to question her. Please." Carmen looked up. Her eyes met theirs, calm and unblinking. The officers approached. "Ma'am," Officer Rudd began, his tone clipped and cold, "we need a word with you." Carmen raised an eyebrow but kept her posture relaxed. "Is there a problem?" "We've received a complaint," Lang added, more forceful. "Please step out of line and come with us." She knew exactly what was happening. Still, she complied. "Of course," she said evenly, sliding her tablet into her bag. Once aside, the interrogation began. "What's your name?" Rudd demanded. "Carmen Ellis." "Boarding pass." "ID." She handed them over calmly. Rudd looked them over, smirked slightly, then held up her ID. "This real? Would you like to run it through the scanner?" she replied. Lang stepped closer. "You got a business class ticket." "How?" "I purchased it." "With whose money?" Carmen blinked. "My own." "What do you do for a living?" Rudd asked with thinly veiled contempt. "I'm a federal employee," she answered plainly. "That's vague," Lang said, voice rising. "Don't play games." "I'm not." "You are." Her voice remained calm. Her hands stayed still. But the tension snapped the moment she said, "You're questioning me based solely on her word and the color of my skin. That's profiling." Lang lost it. "You don't get to tell us how to do our jobs." "I absolutely do when you're violating federal law and civil rights." The shouting escalated. Delaney stood off to the side, arms folded, victorious. A crowd was forming. The gate agent tried to intervene but was waved off. "Put your hands behind your back," Rudd barked. "You're arresting me?" For disturbing the peace, refusing to comply, and threatening airport safety. The cuffs were cold, brutal, tight. Carmen did not resist, but her heart pounded. Not from fear, but fury. Not just at being humiliated, but because she knew what was coming next. And so did they. The walk to the airport police office was long and silent. Carmen's wrist throbbed. Her back remained straight. Inside, a duty officer at a metal desk began intake. Name: Carmen Ellis. Occupation? There was a beat of silence. Then she said it. "I am Chief Judge Carmen Ellis of the United States Court of Appeals." The pin fell from the officer's hand. Rudd and Lang stopped breathing. The room went ice cold. "What did you say?" the officer whispered. "You heard me," she replied. "And I advise you to remove these handcuffs immediately." The man scrambled to comply. The cuffs dropped to the desk with a metallic rattle. Carmen rubbed her wrists. "Now contact your chief. Then contact the U.S. Marshal's office and the chief administrator of the Federal Circuit. I will wait here." Panic exploded. Calls were made. Within 30 minutes, the airport police chief and half the command staff rushed in, faces pale, words stumbling. Then came the U.S. Marshals, their presence shifting the balance of power in the room. By the hour's end, a senior representative from the judiciary had arrived as well. The facts came out fast. The video footage from body cams and security cameras was pulled. Witnesses, including the gate agent and passengers, gave statements. The story couldn't be spun. The airport police chief suspended officers Rudd and Lang on the spot. Their guns and badges were removed. They were escorted out of the room they once ruled. As for Margaret Delaney, investigators flagged her as a key instigator. She was identified, detained before her flight took off, and questioned under oath. She tried to play innocent, but the footage betrayed her. She was charged with making false statements and inciting discriminatory police action, both serious offenses. A week later, federal prosecutors filed charges against Rudd and Lang for violating civil rights under color of law, unlawful detention, and abuse of authority. The trial drew national attention. Carmen testified not with anger, but with unshakable resolve. The footage of her calm, respectful demeanor compared to their violent outburst painted the truth in stark contrast. The jury deliberated for just 5 hours. Guilty. Both men were sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. Delaney avoided prison by pleading guilty to a lesser charge, but paid a $500,000 fine and lost her travel privileges indefinitely. Justice was served not because of rage, not because of vengeance, but because the truth was undeniable and the system, this time, upheld it. Carmen Ellis went back to her courtroom. She sat on the bench again the following week, hearing arguments, delivering rulings, and upholding justice with the same calm precision as always. But something had changed. She was no longer just a judge. She had become a symbol, a reminder that even in the highest ranks of power, dignity is not immune to discrimination, but neither is it easy to erase. And the airport? It revised its protocol, retrained its officers, installed new oversight. Quiet changes, lasting impact. Because one woman stood tall, even in handcuffs, and changed everything.